Arsenal lineup then. Freddie Ljungberg, the skipper, two up front of Van Persie and Adebayor, and Fabregas and Flamini running that midfield. Fabregas had such a great game over there in the first leg, and a little look at the Zagreb team as well. And Dinamo Zagreb missing the experience Novotny in the middle of their defence. Modric is one to look out for, the playmaker in the midfield, and Eduardo as well is a threat there. And I was a bit disappointed the way they keeled over really in the first leg. Would you expect better from them tonight?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. I think they were a bit shell-shocked by Arsenal and their performance, you know, to go behind. What Arsenal did and what I was disappointed about Zagreb was the first 20 minutes they never had a go at Arsenal, and the fans were quiet. You thought it would be very hostile. Arsenal done well, and they just killed the game, and they went on and won at a counter in the end. But I thought Eduardo had a couple of chances to make it a little bit tighter.
Thank you, Paul. The teams are in the tunnel. They will be ready to go when you rejoin us. You're watching ITV4. It's the first ever European game in Arsenal's Emirates Stadium. The teams are ready to go. Let's join your commentators, David Pleat, and first of all say good evening to Peter Drury.
Jim, good evening. No longer the clatter of studs on the narrow concrete incline that was the Highbury Tunnel. Rather the broad corridor that leads out into the broader acres of Arsenal's 21st century home. Tonight, a venue that was built for the highest level of European football throws open its doors to the continent. $60,000 tonight, every Arsenal home night. Their 83rd European home game, 76 at Highbury, 6 at Wembley, and for the first time here in Ashburton Grove at the Emirates Stadium. Filthy night, wonderful sight, it feels good. Arsenal shake hands with a substantial advantage, but given the evident quality in the Zagreb side, regardless of the first leg score, surely without the air of a team whose work is already done, it would be criminal, said Wenger, to have the wrong attitude. His selection issues are very similar to those he had in Zagreb a fortnight back. Added to their list of absentees since then, Thomas Rosicky. Escaped from it, Thierry Henry, Freddie Ljungberg and Theo Walcott. Of those, though, only Ljungberg starts the game. Matteo Flamini also comes into midfield in place of Gilberto. Freddie Ljungberg has borrowed the armband at the end of a game before, but he has never captained the team from the start of a match until now. Dinamo, as you've heard, suffered a mighty blow at the weekend when their major German import Jens Novotny suffered a major knee injury. The upshot tonight is that the captain Mamic drops back to act as one of three centre-halves. There are a couple of positional changes, and four in this side didn't start the first game. Carlos at left back there, Agic, Durpic at right back, and Vukojevic in midfield. They are now played 4-1-4 in their domestic league, and in Modric and Eduardo provided both Croatian international scorers last week. And there is Eduardo, who scored the first goal of the new Slaven Bilic Croatia era, and who has scored 5 goals in his last 3 league games. He represents the threat, such as it is. Referee is 41-year-old Bertrand Layek from Brittany, whose only previous work in this country was for one of Middlesbrough's early UEFA Cup ties last season. Well, perhaps Arsene Wenger's most pertinent post-match quote after the draw against Villa here on Saturday: the pitch was great, the fans were great, the atmosphere was great. All we need now is for the team to be great. In May, his team was a quarter of an hour from greatness. Now they are an hour and a half of common-sense football away from joining those in pursuit of Champions League greatness again. David Pleat making themselves at home, making sure of progress. What else would you have on the Arsenal agenda tonight?
Yes, evening all. Well, 9 of Arsenal's 11 who won comprehensively in Zagreb are on duty here tonight, and Wenger will expect the complete professionalism from all of them. And I suppose everyone has a chance to challenge and stake a case for an automatic place. Not easy with Arsenal's very good squad, lots of competition for places, but he'll want to see players begin to get a real flow and rhythm in their game and really pick up some form.
And another Wenger quote, which would be pertinent to a moment like that when Eto'o was nearly put in by Giroux's misplaced pass. Another quote: if we are naive enough to believe that the job is finished, we could be in for a big surprise. A heart-in-mouth moment for the young Swiss centre-half who has so excelled for club and country in recent months. It's Durpic playing it in. And with time to turn from right full-back, Emmanuel Aboué, who almost ran into strife. Here's Hoyt. Flamini deputising for Gilberto in central midfield today, interestingly. Kleb with another misplaced pass. This is a none too tidy start to the game from Arsenal. And finally it's lofted high over the crossbar from deep by Sorluka, but Kleb is not the first to err inside the first 90 seconds. Giroud had been errant prior to that, and Arsene Wenger frowns accordingly.
There's a shade of uncertainty at the start. Once they settle down, they'll be all right. Fascinating problem for the Zagreb coach. He has to regain some pride, he has to play with more ambition than he showed in the first leg. They did hold Arsenal for 63 minutes, but I thought they never attacked the game early enough and with enough self-belief. But tonight, they must try and get an early goal, so I think we could see an attractive start.
Well, you heard a lot of talk about the pitch prior to the game, and Arsene Wenger's desire that it should be a little nippier, a little quicker than it was for his personal taste at the weekend. Here, though, is Eto'o for Zagreb, and Eduardo looking to profit, and Giroud having just enough about him to keep the two Brazilians at bay. What we can say is that it has rained very hard, and they have sprinkled the pitch in the hour before kick-off. There ought to be zip in the surface. Here is Ljungberg, the skipper for the night, leading Arsenal from the start for the first time. Looking to penetrate the box.
Almuna also got a touch of the nerves there with that very poor kick out that nearly led to a chance. Ljungberg trying to be a little bit optimistic there, expecting the referee to give him a decision. Arsenal with their back four, the back four that played in Zagreb. Middle four: Ljungberg, Flamini, Fabregas, Kleb, and Adebayor at centre forward. He was outstanding in Zagreb with Van Persie.
There is Josip Couget, who remains motivated for this time, no question about that, but who certainly hasn't been making optimistic noises, no fanciful thoughts about coming to the Emirates Stadium and winning 4-0. But his side have won 6 of their first 7 games this season, losing only to Arsenal 2 weeks ago. There are only 2 remaining 100% records in the Croatian League, and they belong to the 2 most famous clubs, this one and Hajduk Split. Mamic. Svitanovic. Towards Eduardo, seen by Fabregas, the outstanding player of the first leg. Adebayor. Aboué. Hoyt. Giroud. Kleb.
Arsenal already switching their forward players. Kleb in the centre, and Persie coming towards the ball. Hoyt getting well up on the left-hand side. They play such good football, fine passing football, that the movement of the players always gives alternatives.
Carlos dispossessed by Adebayor. Clem. Fabregas. Communicating with his goalkeeper. Nudged down by Eduardo for Eto'o. It's an all-Brazilian front line for Zagreb tonight. And Eduardo on his own up front at home, but they've got a little more adventurously, oddly enough, away from home.
Yes, I think Eto'o will play a little bit closer with Eduardo. The man to look out for, of course, as Peter said, is the little guy, the number 10, Modric. Sparkling display in the first game. Started on the right-hand side against Justin Hoyt. Played very loose in the first game behind the front two. Always busy, always good with the ball, and was a real thorn in the Arsenal team until they scored those 2 quick goals and took over the game.
Toure. Abue. To Agic. Carlos, the third Brazilian in the Dinamo team tonight. Toure. Actually, from a European perspective, Arsenal's change of ground occurs with slightly unfortunate timing. They've left Highbury and are joined for their first European night by some of the noisiest and most passionate fans on the continent. Those from Zagreb, about 500 have travelled with their various musical instruments and items of percussion. There is Ljungberg right in front of those visiting supporters. Couldn't find a way past Durpic. Driven long for Eto'o. Almunia has come and judged his movement out of the box well enough, better than in fact he judged his clearance.
Pat Rice and Arsene Wenger will be putting Almunia in the five-a-sides tomorrow, reminding him of his control and passing abilities. But it was good anticipation to see that ball coming towards the edge of his box.
You say about the unfortunate change of ground from a European perspective. Arsenal left Highbury just as, after some relatively indifferent European campaigns, they'd started to turn it into a fortress. Yellow card has been shown early in the game to Mathieu Flamini.
Did such a good job as an emergency left-back last season, surprised everyone. Just catches the Zagreb player there. Flamini in midfield tonight is the main ball winner. He'll try and give Fabregas an array of passes so that he can feed the front men. Very much a defensive-orientated player, Mathieu Flamini.
In no sense was he dissenting from the manager's official line when he said pre-season that he really would love to get a few games in midfield, having been chained to that emergency left-back role for so long last time round. His wish is granted tonight. Fabregas fouled by Agic, and then from the other side by Vukojevic. Agic is one of those who didn't start the first game. 14 caps for Croatia, none very recent. Arsenal unbeaten in their last 10 European home games since Wayne Bridges' late quarter-final winner for Chelsea in April 2004. There is Abue playing it behind Adebayor, out by Durpic. Toure couldn't get there, but Giroud is behind him.
Zagreb have quickly adjusted to Ljungberg's position on the wide left, and Durpic has gone very much to a right-back position to contain Ljungberg on the far side of the field. So it's more or less a back four with Carlos sitting as a left-back. We'll see how that develops. Hopefully they'll push forward from their full-back positions.
Svitanovic. Durpic. Modric. Vukojevic. Durpic. Way past Justin Hoyt.
Poor challenge by Hoyt. Unnecessary challenge. Player going nowhere.
Hoyt still only 21 after his season away with Sunderland. And it is he who conceded the free kick, over which is this clever little ball user Luka Modric. Modric with the delivery. Svitanovic leapt at the near post but didn't make contact. Fabregas. Abue. Van Persie. Ljungberg ahead of him, and Adebayor. Hoyt getting forward from left full back. So Durpic was shown too much of it.
A rather soft pass. Pitch will be very zippy tonight, and obviously when Van Persie played that ball towards Hoyt, he didn't put too much on it. Players will expect the ball to fly across the surface after all that rain. Pacing of the pass is going to be so important.
Kleb. Van Persie. Kleb. To Agic. Now Eduardo. Eto'o getting up beyond him. He slipped it in for Eto'o, and here comes Eduardo. Scores! Arsenal concede first on their new ground again. It slithered beneath Almunia when perhaps it ought not to have done. But the two Brazilians conspired against Wenger's men, and Arsenal have a minor problem.
Yeah, a little mistake by Duro also when the ball came in. And the ball was switched there, went to ground, and the ball just went into the Brazilian player's path. Almunia too. Might just look at himself. There's just a sense of a little bit of uncertainty in those first couple of minutes, and that's culminated now with a Zagreb goal, wildly celebrated on the far side by a host of visiting supporters who all seem to have their shirts off, Peter. I'm quite cold.
Well, the improbable now seems mildly worryingly possible. Eduardo scored with one set of boots and is now trying another. He has 8 goals this season now in 8 games, as well as his international goal for Slaven Bilic's Croatia against the world champions last week.
The goal came after a break down the right by the energetic Abue. It was in that area where the Zagreb team built the attack. Just what the doctor ordered for Kuze's team. Gives the game a real flavour, a real chance of becoming a top-class spectacle, particularly if Zagreb can maintain ambition and go for a second.
So Arsenal still haven't had a lead on their new ground competitively. Here's Van Persie. Pulled back from behind by Agic.
He will get a yellow for that, for sure. Came on as a sub in the first game, and if I remember correctly, made one or two not too correct challenges. That's not correct either.
Torino was called upon to make a couple of important saves over the course of the first leg, not least from Flamini in the dying moments of that game. And Arsenal were through and looked odds on to make it 4-0. That's Van Persie over the free kick, which he won. Van Persie deflected off the wall and behind. Maybe it's forward for the set piece. And Persie is going to take it. Serena punch when really he, on the face of it, comfortably of court. Then for Van Persie again to run at Mamic. And then another corner.
He does that so well, Van Persie. He gets sideways on and drags the ball with his left foot and looks to hit the ball quickly in with his right. The times we've seen him do that near that right-hand byline.
The tallish Arsenal side, no one is taller than Emmanuel Adebayor. Always near the penalty spot with Giroud behind him. And Persie again, Durpic away. Two statistics associated with the Zagreb goal. Remember, Arsenal had gone their last 5 European games at Highbury without conceding a goal. I reckon it's just about exactly 500 playing minutes in European football since Nelson Ferreira of Thun was the last visitor to score a European goal on Arsenal's ground. Beat Sparta Prague 3-0, goalless game with Ajax, goalless game with Real Madrid, beat Juventus without conceding and Villarreal in the semi-final. But now, after more than 8 hours without conceding at home in Europe, Arsenal's defence has been penetrating. Fabregas, Ljungberg, Fabregas. Looking to find Hoyt, seen by Modric. Up for Vukojevic. Giroud got out of a corner, Flamini got out of another one, Kleb. Flamini. Ljungberg. Hoyt. Kleb. Fabregas. Kleb. Adebayor. Fabregas. Adebayor. Better ball retention from Arsenal. Flamini. And he's presented it to Durpic. Here's Fabregas again. And he's presented it to Mamic.
Lots of possession by Arsenal. Of course, they were accused by the harshest of critics on Saturday against Aston Villa of playing over intricately. Many passes, many corners. I think they forced 18 corners on Saturday. But only late on did they force the ball into the net. They've got to shoot a little bit more quickly sometimes when they get around the edge of the box.
Sliding tackle. Seemed to me that he took enough of the ball to justify the challenge. The French referee was closer and took a different view, but he certainly did play the ball. It's a harshly awarded free kick. Incidentally, amongst those harsh critics of whom you speak, David, Arsene Wenger would count himself. He considered them over-elaborate at times on Saturday. He'll be concerned about the flimsiness of some of the defending there. Mistake by Tourou, and then a pretty lame attempt at stopping it from Manuel Almunia, who has been such a terrific asset to Arsenal, as indeed has Touré during the last European campaign, and indeed at the start of this one. Persie. Mamic already having been booked. Perhaps making the point that Van Persie might have been expecting to have his name taken then as well.
So far, the two main playmakers, Fabregas for Arsenal and Modric for Zagreb, haven't managed to get on the ball enough to influence the play. Particularly important that Fabregas gets a fair amount of touches.
Lifted over the top for Ljungberg, taking on Mamic. On captain shoulder to shoulder with the other. Here is Hoyt. Aimed in at Van Persie, out by Svitanovic as far as Fabregas. Cut out by Carlos. Vukojevic, Carlos, Modric. Eduardo, Modric, Eto'o offside.
Arsenal held the line well. Seems that regardless of what changes Arsenal make in whichever games they play, Boué and Touré have become very much consistent names on that team sheet. Hardly ever miss a game now.
So Wenger has been able to put his faith in them. Boué would certainly remain at right back, you would think, whilst Laurent remains a long-term absentee. Wenger has now left his 10th pre-season at Arsenal behind him, just more than a month short of his 10th anniversary of joining the club. Adebayor rising and evidently climbing.
Van Persie was in a good position to support. Has to place close. There are those supporters who don't seem to worry about the North London slightly cold, certainly wet evening. Brave boys.
The first leg at home was extraordinary, David. They are brave.
Yeah, they're called the Bad Blue Boys from Zagreb.
Their support in the first leg when they were 3-0 down remained excellent, excellent throughout. It's a high-caliber Arsenal bench tonight. Theo Walcott had those 17 special minutes on Saturday. He's alongside a World Cup winner in Gilberto, and in the front row is the man himself, Thierry Henry. 49 European goals. He's short of yet another landmark strike, only 41 of them for Arsenal. So if he gets on tonight, he could make his half-century. Foul on Kleb by Mamic.
Poor challenge by the tall captain, playing as the deepest defender tonight. They have to prove they're not going to miss Novotny tonight.
Fabregas with the free kick. Goalkeeper has come. Van Persie! Underside of the bar and out. And there was a man on the line there who got a touch on it as well and carried it onto the bar, I think.
Well, we've already seen the goalkeeper come and flap it to one corner. Made a mess of that.
Extraordinary goal line clearance.
Absolutely. Because there are new goalposts here. We don't know if there's magnets in them. We haven't found that out yet. But that was quite incredible. Van Persie must have thought he'd scored. Not very happy with this goalkeeper. We'll have to see how he gets on. He looks very uneasy when the ball's in the air.
Ended up to Touré, cut out by Mamic. Oh, the Zagreb supporters are making a wonderful noise. And the acoustics of which we spoke before kick-off at the moment are working in Zagreb's favour, because their singing is echoing off the steep stands here in the Emirates Stadium. Kleb, Adebayor.
Once again, Adebayor playing a little 1-2 with Kleb, trying to play him through, but there's a cluster of blue shirts around the edge of that box. I think Arsenal have to get the ball wide and try and make progress into deep, wide positions. Once again, they're trying to play tight little balls through the middle. I think Kleb's got to get wider on this side. He's drifting into the middle, and they've got to feed Ljungberg, who is giving them a bit of width on the left.
Boué. Flamini. Kleb. Flamini. Van Persie. Oh, brilliant. Van Persie! Serena plunged at his near post.
There's that magnificent trick Van Persie uses again. Sideways on, absolute brilliant dummy. But he can't score from there. That is really an impossible angle to try that. He does so brilliantly. Needs to square that across the goal.
Have a go at that in the back garden. Van Persie's corner. Out by Svitanovic. Kleb. Fabregas. Juru. Flamini. Van Persie. Exchanging with Aboué and getting flattened.
Well, Carlos just never really looked at the ball at all there. He just looked to take out the man. It's not the first time he's done it. The Brazilian defender, and they're beginning to concede too many free kicks, and with the goalkeeper Torino looking like a cat on hot bricks there. He looks nervous, he doesn't look confident at all. Arsenal have got to throw that ball in and try and maximise Adebayor's height.
And Persie to deliver once more. Adebayor attacking it, sure enough. Adebayor, 6'3", was the top African scorer in World Cup qualifying. And he was amongst those looking to feed Van Persie, who was denied by the toe of Svitanovic. The Dutchman did get his revenge pretty quickly, making a mug of Svitanovic with the most brilliant deftness of foot. 1-1 draw between the big centre-half and the artful Dutchman.
You look at Van Persie play and you wonder if he could play as an orthodox outside right, the way he takes the ball. He reminds me of Chris Waddle, the way he gets sideways on against his left full-back or his left-sided defender and just drifts past them with that brilliant body swerve.
Forward by Toure. Towards Adebayor.
And Modric has retained that position on the right-hand side, more or less playing a 4-4-2. Modric wide on the right, Eduardo and Eto'o up at the front. Eto'o playing slightly leftish, not really getting breaks on from midfield. Almunia's had a quiet time. 1/3 of the game gone. Arsenal still comfortable in aggregate terms, but they're not getting enough efforts at goal.
Kleb. Nice touch for Fabregas. Good surge from Fabregas. Aboué. Van Persie. And still. Drove it against Mamic. Kleb. Van Persie. In by Flamini. Taken by Adebayor. And Ljungberg! And Van Persie! No way through. They will not be beaten. Shirt or no shirt, here is Kleb. Van Persie. Away from Flamini. And Sorluka. Aboué. Again by Sorluka. Now by Kleb. Well, Freddie Ljungberg had a thin scoring season last year, domestically and on the European front for Arsenal. Saw the whites of the goalkeeper's eyes and hit the goalkeeper's instep.
Terrific, brave blocking. by all the defenders, preparing to throw their bodies in front of the ball to do anything to stop that shot reaching the goal. But of course that pressure would eventually pay if Arsenal keep it going.
Almost the latest Zagreb player to change his boots. Maybe the surface isn't doing for them what they were anticipating that it might.
That's a strange looking ball by Justin Hoyt. Might have reached Aboué, but it was a dangerous ball to play.
Carlos still off. Arsenal in a position to take advantage of a defensive man light. With the studs. Fabregas. Kleb. Aboué. Kleb. Kleb was so good in Zagreb. He made Arsenal tick, but he'd given it away to Modric there, and now Eduardo. He's got clear of Giroud, slipped it away from Heb. Modric! These are concerning times for Arsenal, and potentially uplifting ones for Kujet.
Well, definitely an offside there by the midfield player, Verkovic. But Modric, supported by Eduardo, got forward well. Eto'o, I noticed on the left, made little attempt to get in the box. He was more worried about the Arsenal counter. They have been on the back foot since scoring.
And Percy is proving a delight to watch this evening. He's played a smashing ball out wide here for Hoyt.
Hoyt has a problem, he can't go on the outside, so he's coming inside all the time on his right foot, and it's just cluttering the situation in the middle. They need to get on the wide outside, Arsenal, to try and draw players out of that central defensive area. They've got to try and get cover across, got to try and get a 1v1 or a 2v1 against the fullbacks.
Ljungberg. Here is a 2v1 against Durpic, with Hoyt going beyond Ljungberg, who comes inside instead for Fabregas. And now Flamini, and then Kleb. Adebayor.
Once again, must be critical. Kleb could have had a shot when he dragged it onto his left foot there. He's tried to roll Adebayor in. It's a super night for shooting. The surface is greasy, the ball will fly, you'll get deflections. Go for shots.
Kovacic is the player harmed by that frenetic period inside the Zagreb penalty area. Running back towards his own goalkeeper here, Vukovic made the clearance, and then the keeper cleared him out.
He's an interesting one, the goalkeeper, Torina. Got a clean sheet so far. Looked very uneasy when trying to stop two of Arsenal's goals in the away leg.
Reminder that there is a third game of European football on ITV this week. On Friday night, ITV4 7:30. It is the UEFA Super Cup, live from Monaco. Barcelona against Sevilla, the game that just might have been Arsenal-Middlesbrough, but ain't. Nevertheless, well worth watching. 7:30 this channel, Friday night. Kovacic really has an injury worthy of further treatment. And Arsenal have a corner against 10 men. Fabregas with it. Torina came and caught okay that time. Eduardo.
Only one player forward of Eduardo when he looked up and played that ball with his left foot.
Fabregas. Kleb. Adebayor. Percy. Fabregas. Kleb. Adebayor.
Kleb hasn't scored too many goals since he's been at Arsenal. I think when he was in Stuttgart, he scored a few, hit a few shots. I saw him play very dangerously at Glasgow Rangers one evening. But just think sometimes that he resists the opportunity when he might pull the trigger.
Well, he didn't score a European goal in his first season with Arsenal. His last European goal, you should mention Rangers. He scored his last European goal for Stuttgart against Celtic in February 2003, so he's due one. Wenger just a shade anxious, certainly a long way short of panic. I was the first to point out that over security going into this game would be the wrong attitude to take. The job was only half done, and indeed it is still to be completed. Were Arsenal to concede again now, then things would get twitchy. Carlos stayed in on Eboué.
Wenger up on his feet
down.
there. Wenger's up on his feet. He's not very happy with Carlos, and I wouldn't be happy. I've seen one or two challenges he's made this half where he just forgets the ball and runs into the man. There's an example.
Oh, it's a horrible one. Late-ish, foot up-ish, and the ball really an irrelevance. And Eboué was still hobbling. Of course, with Lawrence still out of the picture, Arsenal have a shortage in that position. But Arsenal do have a free kick, forward for which the two centre-halves. And Percy's ball in. Juru. Corner conceded by Soluka. By Mamic. Fabregas again. Kleb. Drifted in at Adebayor. Despite making the leap of a basketball player, didn't make contact even with his upraised hands.
Yeah, it was quite a clever ball really by Kleb, but Durpic was guarding the tall centre forward at the back post. So far Arsenal haven't had the channels to play into Adebayor's feet. It's what they did so well in Zagreb, and I think that's because Kleb is too narrow on the right hand side. If he opened his game out a little bit more, it would open more space into the middle.
Another means in which this game creates a little bit of Arsenal history tonight. Over a period spanning more than 4 decades, Highbury never hosted a European match during the month of August. Of course, in the old days, European football didn't intrude this early in the season, and up to date, Arsenal have never before had to pre-qualify for the Champions League. It is an August night that feels like late October. Juru. Kleb. There's not cohesion about Arsenal tonight, not in the same way that there was 2 weeks ago when a young, relatively undercooked 11 took to the field a long way from home and performed with a togetherness and a smoothness that was beyond what you might have expected. So Arsenal just a bit ragged and rugged. They said which they could easily have scored once or twice in this half, and then the tie really would be over. Carlos, Agic. Fabregas.
I think it's fair to say they do miss the steadying influence of Gilberto Silva.
Ljungberg. It's a decent ball, and Hoyt could get round the back here. And he did, but the ball had skipped on.
Good break by young Hoyt. Then get towards the byline and get balls in from there, fast and low across the box. Van Persie's shown the way a little on the right-hand side. Hoyt's got to keep going and supporting Ljungberg, and just must use the width. Should really be enjoying the width after the narrow pitch at Highbury. This Emirates Stadium is now going to have a reputation of a nice, wide, expansive pitch, and they will want expansive football. Because most teams that went to Arsenal before at Highbury never found it easy to defend, whatever the width.
Keeping goal for Arsenal tonight. Again, in place of Jens Lehmann. In the first leg it was because the German was suspended. This time round Lehmann has a bit of a problem with his knee. A large part of Almunia's workload last season was in Europe. Ljungberg won the ball and was then fouled. Arsenal might have fancied playing advantage. Referee's going to go to his book and take the name of Durpic.
There's always a chance Durpic might get in the book. He went to Mark Ljungberg from the first whistle. We thought he was going to play in a more forward role, but he's playing very much as a orthodox right back. Late there, Ljungberg too sharp for him to meet that ball.
Fabregas in charge of the set piece with 2.5 minutes of the first 45 to play, and Arsenal still with a comfortable aggregate advantage, but with a deficit on the night to make up. And here's Touré, wins a corner. And Touré, who was the last man to score a European goal at Highbury for Arsenal in the semi-final against Villarreal. Aimed in at Giroud. Torino got palms on it. Calmly touched down by Modric. Here's Eduardo. Foul by Van Persie. Eduardo came down for Eto'o. Eduardo. Touré in the way. Modric scrapping for it. Vukovic. Carlos. Firmly caught on it by Modric. Minute of 45 to go, plus a minute to be added on. And you would have thought that the Dinamo dressing room at half-time would be a relatively optimistic place. Kleb, Adebayor, unless... Here's Van Persie. He ran into a blue wall. And Agic carried it away. Eto'o. Eduardo, Eto'o, danger for Arsenal, closing moments of the first half, Eto'o!
Referee gives a corner, must have got a deflection. Eto'o and Eduardo, once again the combination that led to the first goal, cutting inside rather easily to get his shot in. That would have been a massive lift if he could have squeezed that in the corner.
Eto'o was so wasted in the first leg as a sort of auxiliary right full-back for Zagreb at home. Given his attacking head tonight alongside Eduardo, he's a threat. Modric with the corner, which wasn't really a threat. Carlos, Agic. Nothing else happy to play for time. Just very little of it left. By Abue. Durpic. Last chance perhaps for Sorluka to reload it, not so. However, this is not a done deal. Arsene Wenger, all of us, have seen Arsenal play considerably better than that. It's been an uncertain first half display, an uncertainty precipitated by an early goal from Eduardo, since when Van Persie almost equalised on the night for Arsenal, who, as it happens, trail on the night by a 0-0. Thank goodness for their 3-1 aggregate lead. Paul Merson with Jim Rosenthal when we return.
And of course, we'll take a look.
It's only a car. A car is a car is a car. With nuts and bolts and leather and cogs and steel and wood and glass. Intelligent wipers and head-up displays. Alloy and oil. Sensors and sound. Digital mapping and satellite tracking, twists and turns and smiles and miles, infrared eyes and self-drying brakes, and one little key. A car. It's only a car.
The Summer Chicken Deluxe and the limited edition Rolo Milkshake, all part of the delicious summer menu at McDonald's.
The rhythm of life is a powerful beat. Puts a tingle in your fingers and a tingle in your feet. Rhythm in your bedroom, rhythm in the street. Yes, the rhythm of life is a powerful beat. And the rhythm of life is a powerful beat. Puts a tingle in your fingers and a tingle in your feet. Rhythm in your bedroom, rhythm in the street. Yes, the rhythm of life is a powerful beat. Flip your wings and fly to your daddy. Take a dive and swim to your daddy. Hit the floor and rock to your daddy.
I'm on the rocky road, heading down off the mountain slope, and as my steps echo, echo, louder than before. And hey, hey, hey,
nothing should come between you and your friends. 12p per minute to any network with everyone pay as you go. T-Mobile, simply closer.
You witnessed the murder and didn't tell anybody. Eddie Kim will kill you. Come with us to L.A., testify, put him in jail for life.
Welcome aboard, Agent Flynn.
You know all those security scenarios we ran? Well, I'm smack in the middle of one we didn't think of. Eddie Kim filled the plane with poisonous snakes.
Please help me!
Want a crisis team at LAX ASAP. Let's go!
Snakes on a plane.
What? Bob?
Bit overdressed, didn't they? I'm just sorting out my car insurance. Well, I call the AA team. They search over 20 insurance companies to find me their best quote.
Okay, 40% less with a full money-back guarantee if you find a cheaper quote.
Not bad.
us a call.
To find out if you could save up to 40%, call the AA team, here to get you a better deal.
Desperate to sign for your team? Every time you pay with your Connect card, you could win a Barclays Premiership contract, including a £10,000 signing-on fee.
Everybody wants to fight next.
Apprehension building.
I'm ready to rumble, man.
Alliances shifting.
At the end of it all, every man is for themselves.
Weakness exploited.
Might be somebody from our team that picks him.
Harmony shattered. Can you spot the contender? Monday at 9, ITV4.
Arsene Wenger has suffered in that first half here at the Emirates. Arsenal are a goal down at half-time. That's the bad news. The good news is overall they've the Dinamo Zagreb by 3-1. Another big night here on ITV4 this Friday evening. The Super Cup final. Champions League winners Barcelona, complete with Ronaldinho taking on UEFA Cup winners Sevilla. Remember, they beat Middlesbrough in that final last May. We're on air at 7:30. Then, week on Saturday, top-class boxing. A couple of fights you really will not want to miss.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening.
The Big Fight Live blasts back with a cracker. Yorkshireman Clinton Woods defending his world light heavyweight title against former champion Glenn Johnson. Amir Khan's very much at home as he continues his charge to glory. The Big Fight live from Bolton, Saturday, September the 2nd. What a knockout. Not the easy scrap that Arsenal might have expected here then, Paul.
Definitely not. It just shows what a great result it was in Zagreb 2 weeks ago. But they've struggled tonight, no question about it.
And a real heavy blow they took with that goal. And you've got 1 or 2 points you want to make about how Arsenal set themselves up before that.
Well, we talked about before the game about the width of the pitch, and then all of a sudden, now Tory's got to come over now and pick this man up. Jury comes across, and then Hoyt comes across. Hoyt's so slow coming across. Jury's come across too slowly. Tory makes a mistake, and then the goalkeeper's got to save that. But that just shows what we talked about before the game. The pitch is wide, and they've got to get used to that. And they never got and they're very inexperienced. If you look at the back four, bar Toure, the others haven't played a lot of games. Hoyt was playing for Sunderland, getting beat every week last year. You know, he's a right-footer playing left back. And because of the pitch is so quick, they just didn't get into position quick enough, and they got punished. And you feel Arsenal playing very, very narrow tonight. You're picking out Hleb in particular. Hleb, I don't want to pick on him. I think he's a very good player, but he's just constantly coming inside all the time, and it's making a buoy having to go on the outside all the time. And it's hard work on a big pitch like this, and he keeps on congesting it. Fabregas is a good enough player, and Flamini is a good enough player to do that job there. He stays wide like Lundberg is, and they might get a bit of joy. By his standards, Fabregas has had a disappointing first half. He has had a disappointing first half, but Kleb ain't helping him because he keeps on coming inside and he's closing up his space, so he's not being able to get on the ball. And when he does get on the ball, what does he have on? You know, there's a lorry load of blue shirts in front of him and nothing out on the right wing. They had a good period, a good 10 minutes, and Van Persie was right in the thick of things, wasn't he? And how did this one not go in, by the way, Paul? Well, it's a good ball in, brave header, great stop on the line, and now it's spanned back over the bar. But Van Persie's been Arsenal's best player by a long, long way. You know, it's a great effort by Svitanovic that is getting it off the line. He's done well, because as soon as the goalkeeper's come out to wave at his girlfriend, he's gone straight back on the line, and that's good defending. You know, that's no accident, that's good defending. Now, talk us through this little bit of skill. Well, this is good enough skill, the Cruyff turn, and then this is different class. Different class, but being an ex-pro, then the name of the game is to get the ball across, and shooting there is a crime in football. Here's the real angle, look. Well, a lot of people's knees would have come out the socket there, but he's been the live wire for me, and he's one of them players who he can open a can of worms, and that's what they need. You know, they need someone who can make something happen, and I think Adebayo, they haven't really given him the service, and I think they've struggled. They've got to get width. I'd bring Wilcox on there.
You would?
Yeah, definitely, and tell him to stay out wide.
OK. Well, Walcott might just get a run in the second half. Let's get a view from Robbie down there at pitch side. What do you think, Robbie? Arsenal sort of feeling their way in the new house?
Yeah, pretty much, Jim, but I also think that there's also like a hybrid conditioning with some of the players. It almost feels like they're playing the hybrid way on the Sandwich pitch. Paul's mentioned about the lack of width, that's evident, but also I think about distances, players themselves. I think when you know a pitch, you have a mental distance, knowing where to close down or where you're going to run from. I just don't feel on this pitch the Arsenal players know that, and once or twice they've been looking quizzically as they've tried to close down. So I just feel that they've got to know and learn to understand how this pitch works and how it plays.
Thank you very much indeed, Robbie. Arsenal really shocked then by that Dinamo Zagreb goal. A lot of support for Dinamo here. Freddie Ljungberg skippering the team. But what a shock for the Gunners. Good finish, Eduardo. We wonder about Almunia. And great skill as well from Van Persie. What a turn. What a shame about the shot. Arsene wants better in the second half.
You forgot this.
Thanks.
Now remember, you're on at 10 and be there at least 15 minutes before, okay?
Practical and exciting. Don't see that very often. The new Skoda Octavia VRS.
People of Britain, we urge you to...
Challenge Churchill.
Yes, challenge Churchill to give you a better car insurance deal.
Okay, if I have an accident, can you arrange all the repairs?
Oh, yes.
And can you take the car to be repaired?
Oh, yes.
And can you even pay towards a hotel room if I'm stranded?
Oh, yes. Oh, steady, madam. Come on, Britain, challenge Churchill. If you haven't claimed for 3 years, we guarantee to beat the renewal price for your car insurance.
Something bad is about to happen. I can feel it.
An island secret.
Rowan, break it burn!
She'll burn to death.
Where evil is waiting.
Wicker Man returns.
Nicolas Cage. The Wicker Man at cinemas Thursday, August 31st.
Hanging from a pine tree by my knees, sunshine through the shade. Nobody knows what it's all about. It's too much, man. Let it all hang out. Let it all hang out. Let it all hang out.
Brewed with citrus hops for an effortless taste. New Foster's Twist. Laid-back lager.
Hi. Hi. State-of-the-art appliances, lovely rear aspect, rhododendron, laburnum.
Cost a fortune.
Ah, I see you spotted the BT Home Hub. Up to 8 meg wireless broadband, built-in security, free evening and weekend UK calls over the internet, and soon it will be able to handle TV and video on demand.
We'll take it.
BT's Home Hub has the technology to meet all your needs.
And finally, bedroom 4. All this would be a very nice nursery.
Get BT Total Broadband from $9.95 for the first 6 months.
Like some help?
Yes, please.
Like some help?
Yes, please.
Okay. Would you like some help?
Yeah, I think I got it.
Want Kodak quality prints in seconds?
Nice picture.
Thanks.
Look for a Kodak picture kiosk. At Boots, Click and other leading photo stores.
Now it's going to happen.
Henderson is not what you call a sensitive man.
Man, you're so screwed up, basically anyone can help you.
As for political correctness, forget it.
Fight back!
You hit a girl!
Fed up with 21st century men?
What?
Then take a break with The Norm. The Norm Show, Thursdays at 7, ITV4.
Also other football taking place tonight. Hearts have a lot to do. They're into the second half. They're goalless in Athens. Hearts 2-1. Athens leading by 2-1. Hearts need to score 2 if they're going to go into that draw for the group stages in Monte Carlo that takes place tomorrow. And in the Premiership, lots of goalless games. These are all the latest scores. Villa and Reading 1-1. Paul Merson, what do you think Wenger's tactics for the second half will be now? Will he shrug and go, take it, or will he really want to put on a show?
Well, I personally think he's saying before the game it's going to take 10 games to get used to this pitch. The quicker they get a win under their belt here, the better. I'd expect them to go for it and try and win a game as quickly as possible at the new stadium.
And you would expect to see a little bit of Theo Walcott and possibly a bit of Thierry Henry?
I hope so. I think that's what all the fans have come for, so fingers crossed.
They are all set to go for the second half. Back to David Pleat and first to Peter Drury.
Jim, thank you. It is almost 3 years now since a team from mainland Europe has beaten Arsenal in London. Inter, you remember, won 3-0 at Highbury in September of 2003. Since then, Chelsea won a European game at Arsenal's old home. But a visitor from across the Channel and beyond hasn't won in the capital against Arsenal for a little while. Arsenal, though, are behind. Their first European game at Highbury was played in not dissimilar circumstances, with a healthy lead from the away leg back in October '64 in the Fairs Cup. They'd already won 7-1 in Copenhagen before coming home, and actually lost that game by 3-2. In those days they were established in their new stadium long since. Here they've got to feel their way into a new home. At the moment there's still some furniture to fit, some cushions to plump up. Here's Adebayor. Fabregas. Toure. Point. Ljungberg. David Pleat, you heard the half-time discussions, much talk of the pitch and its dimensions and Arsenal's lack of cohesion. Where are you standing on all of this, and where do you think Arsene Wenger is standing?
Well, I think we're overemphasising the problems with the pitch. A pitch is a pitch is a pitch. I don't quite understand how it takes good players to take so long to get used to a pitch. The second thing is, there's no problem with Arsenal's work rate, but for sure they do over-elaborate, or are over-elaborating tonight, considering they're monopolising the ball so much. The strange thing is now, if Zagreb really believe in themselves, having got a goal, and let's remember the bottom line is they're losing 3-1 at the moment, and push on and really go for a second, it will open up the space that Arsenal desperately need. But if Kleb continues to play narrow, and if Eboué can't get into the area that he leaves, and Arsenal's build-up is slow, then it will stay as a stalemate. Let's hope Zagreb really get ambitious.
Eduardo, Agic, Carlos. Itself is naturally enough in terrific shape. This team are using it well enough. I was talking to the groundsman Paul Burgess prior to the game, and he was telling me they started seeding it 2 days after the last game of last season at Highbury, 2 days after the Wigan game. He did suggest that since it was a considerably larger playing area, they ought to be paying him more, but he said that hasn't happened yet.
Well, at least he hasn't got to lay an artificial pitch.
Eduardo, Eto'o. More concern for Arsenal. It's poked out for Ljungberg. He's fallen under the challenge of Durkic.
Durkic has got to be careful. Yellow card already. Tight onto Ljungberg, thou shalt not pass.
Hoyt. Flamini. Seb. Eboué wants to gallop forward. Played it in beyond that by all for Ljungberg! Always rising.
Well, needed a good contact. He's never going to get it coming onto that ball swiftly. There's a young man. I'm sure there'll be a crowd reaction. We're seeing him warm up. He certainly captured their imagination on Saturday with his brief foray into the Premiership scene. Could be a good night for him. There's a lot of tough man-for-man marking on the field, and of course, should they need to take Henry onto the field, who knows? There are 2 goals to the good. We've seen the close marking on Ljungberg by Durpic, but also Vukcevic is never far away in the centre from Flamini, and Agic is always around Fabregas's feet. So they are doing a good marking job, they're doing a good restraining job as Zagreb. I just like to see them break away a little bit more when they win possession.
We made the point about Durpic. It's worth pointing out again that Flamini has also been yellow carded and needs to be careful. Here's Eto. Vukojevic drove it against Djuru. Dinamo Zagreb corner. Score now, and they are in the tie big time.
Funny situation on the far side, very briefly. They've all put their shirts back on. The Zagreb supporters must have been told by the police.
Just as we've passed the 9 o'clock watershed as well. Touched at the near post from Van Persie. Eduardo, Agic. Eduardo onside, Kleb got a piece of it. And then Svitanovic with an angled pass that didn't work out. Van Persie is clearly discomforted.
Looks as though he tweaked his groin a shade there. When Agic turned on his inside, he slipped on the pitch. No question, his studs got caught. Seems to be moving a little bit gingerly towards the centre circle, but I'm quite sure that Arsene will start thinking, once the 60-minute mark gets close, to pep this performance up a little.
Fabregas, Flamini, Ljungberg. Hoyt's got outside of him again. Protection from Eto. Still had to start again with Djuru, and then Touré, and now Eboué. Kleb. Hoyt. Kleb. Adebayor, must be! Oh! No. He had the parish to himself.
It was a very good move. A lovely ball by Hoyt. It was Kleb that managed to get that ball, once again roaming from his wide right position. Adebayor careless. Thinking Mr. Henry would have passed that ball into the corner of the net. Adebayor swings recklessly.
Reaction from Arsene Wenger, which looked close to resignation. Just feels like one of those nights, and there's a sense that Arsenal really would be grateful just to cling on to the position they have now. It'll do. It'll quickly be forgotten. It'll take them through to the Champions League group stages. It would be nice to get a goal, indeed to get a win on their new ground and get that little monkey off their back as soon as possible.
Samic is doing a good job, the midfield player who's gone to centre-back, basically covering for the German Novotny, the highest paid player at the club, who went there in the summer.
Won by Soluka, Modric the chaser, Toure judged it well. Juru. Backs of space here for Van Persie to run out of and into. Looking to play in Ljungberg. It's not happening.
Well, it's questionable even then if Van Persie could have come on the inside and had a pop at goal. Haven't tested that man Torina. He's looked very shaky at times in my view. But how many times has he had to deal with shots from 20 yards?
Pitch tipped over Ljungberg. Vukovic. Clashing with Eto'o. Zagreb's free kick.
Frustration by Ljungberg there. He was unhappy with his challenge at Derpic, and then he took it out on the next blue shirt that came near him.
Namic. Away from Adebayor. All the world ought to have equalised for Arsenal on the night moments ago. Crowd figure this evening, 58,500. Just a couple of thousand short of capacity. That'll be because of the space allotted to visiting supporters, and clearly their space isn't full. It is a home sellout. Not the biggest European crowd, of course, that has watched an Arsenal home game. They did play those 6 games at Wembley at the end of the last decade and were watched by 70,000 plus, which was good for those who wanted a ticket, although it was an experiment which on the whole was received in rather lukewarm fashion, and Arsenal didn't do terribly well at Wembley on the whole. Kabue, Adebayor, Kleb, Van Persie, corner. Persie's corner, comfortable take for Torina. One of those who survives from Dinamo Zagreb's last trip to London. They played at Fulham in 2002 in the UEFA Cup. He conceded goals in this city to Steve Malbronk and Luis Boamorte, former Arsenal player. Eduardo and Eto'o offside.
Good understanding between Toure and Juro there, standing still and allowing the Brazilian to run.
Flamini, Fabregas. Out came Soluka. Vukovic. Flamini, Kleb, Fabregas. Van Persie, Kleb. There's a handball. So Van Persie drove his cross against Soluka. Forward by Derpic.
Kleb still playing that wandering role. Kabue is the widest player on the right at the moment, making tracks forward.
Ljungberg. Hoyt. You can see Arsenal straining every sinew, just trying to pick it up and get it right, but it's one of those nights where the harder they try, And that seems to happen for them. Modric, Carlos, and they really mustn't concede here or it becomes a worrisome period. Modric, well fielded by Almunia.
First effort he's had on goal tonight. Showed in the first leg that he can crack them. And I think that's what Arsenal should be doing a little bit more, really hitting them from that distance, hoping for rebounds. Credit Almunia there, safe and sound, wet, skiddy ball.
Eduardo. So first half goal brought this tie to life in a way that Arsenal really didn't fancy. Really possibly didn't expect. Here is Modric. Agic. Carlos. He hasn't been able to have the impact on this tie that he had on the first leg game. And you recall, amongst other things, he played that terrific long ball for Van Persie's goal, the second goal on that night. Agic for Carlos. Got there ahead of Aboué. Poked it in at Touré. His clearance landed at the feet of Fabregas, and now Yumba. Got to surge forward for the team that he leads tonight. Hoyt. Hoyt has ridden a couple of challenges, and his shot spun out towards Van Persie, but not out of play. Until now.
Good work by Flamini, covering for young Hoyt there when he went forward. Decided to cut inside and have a go on his better right foot. He really does prefer playing right back, and of course that's where he played most of his football for Sunderland last year. Sometimes it's not easy unless you're tremendously comfortable on the ball to switch to the left back position and be very much a right-footed player. You have to come inside too often, and sometimes the angles then get closed down.
Juru. Fabregas. Put in Aboué, so Modric had read the pass. There's Agic wide of him, Eto'o one way, Eduardo the other. Seen by Hoyt. Now gone, Arsenal still behind on the night, still ahead on aggregate. Here is Cleb, Adebayor, faced by Mamic. Spread for Van Persie, that's a gorgeous take. And a smart turn. Rather untidy cross from Robin Van Persie, who has been Arsenal's most watchable player on the night. And here comes the anticipated change. Pat Rice is issuing instructions.
Could be Henry, could it?
Here's Thierry's got the call. And the crowd reaction is approving. Eduardo. Modric. Vukovic. Got plenty of boots on the ball, and then Flamini went over his prone body, but Arsenal got the decision. Arsenal need lifting, and there is no one better qualified to lift them than Thierry Henry. Cleb. Van Persie. Got Soluka.
Gets the benefit of the doubt with the throw-in as well. And Persie's almost been through on so many occasions tonight. Just at the last second, he's got caught.
Eduardo. Modric. Eduardo. Modric. Eto'o yards offside, yards and yards offside. was run outrageously early. Awful misjudgment. He's a year older than he was when the first leg was played, Thierry Henry. Not that he was involved in that first leg, still re-preparing after his World Cup. So 29 last Thursday. Here is Gleb. Van Persie. Flashed across the goal. Adebayor couldn't apply a touch.
Fabulous ball by Van Persie. Has shown some terrific individual skills on the evening. But obviously Arsene Wenger's intervention for the substitution of Henry quite clearly shows that the work that Arsenal have done in the attacking third hasn't been satisfactory tonight.
Arsene Wenger remains a manager who plays his selectorial cards close to his chest, but I think it's fair to surmise that he would have hoped not to have to play Thierry Henry tonight. And the fact that he is going to for the final quarter of the game indicates a certain irritation and restlessness. But when you pay for your ticket to watch Arsenal play at home, and nearly 60,000 have, you want to watch Thierry Henry play. And these people get that privilege now.
Yeah, I think if you come to a wonderful theatre like this, you want to see the top man on the stage. And I think Arsene Wenger has appreciated that touch of show business. They don't have to put him on, of course. They are 3-1 up. They could even play a defensive game and see the game out, but they owe it to the crowd tonight. It's not a nice evening, it's a wet evening, it's a cold evening, and Arsenal so far haven't quite done the business. Can Henry lighten it up?
Adebayor has given way to him after a performance that wasn't even half as good as the one he put in Zagreb, where he was excellent. Flamini looking to burst past Vukojevic, luring Vukojevic into an indiscretion.
Don't be surprised if Henry goes for goal himself here.
Well, until 90-odd seconds ago, there wasn't a player on the field who would consider going for goal from this angle. There is now. Henry has lifted it instead into what should have been the arms of the goalkeeper. He palmed it lamely out. Van Persie. Henry. Little push and go. Durpic stayed with him. And Henry has been penalised for leaning on Durpic, and this Frenchman and that Frenchman are both pretty irritated with the decision.
Well, I think that was an obstruction in the first place, Peter. Obstruction in the first place by Durpic. He definitely ran into Henry's line, and I think Durpic could well be sent off before the end of this evening for persistent fouling. There's Arsene's frustration.
Fabregas. Oh, lost out to Eto'o, who's got over Giroud now. Was there a covering defender? What is the colour of the card? Major questions for Johan Giroud.
I would say yellow. There was a covering defender, but he was terribly fortunate. He just lost concentration.
Yellow is correct. I spotted, I think, Touré right behind him as he made the challenge. And that is the right decision, I feel sure, from the French official. But it was clumsy from Giroud. There is Touré coming across. More than clumsy. It's a horrid, untidy tackle.
Fascinating to see how Arsenal cope in these first few weeks of the Premiership season without Senderos and, of course, the absent Campbell. I say the absent, the departed Campbell.
Well, here's a pretty impressive insurance policy in Gilberto Silva. Incidentally, they do have Pascal Sigon fit again now. There is an alternative first-team centre-half.
Quality alternative.
Modric and Eduardo over the Dinamo Zagreb free kick, which, should it get beyond Almunia, It caused Arsenal 20-odd very anxious moments and minutes. Eduardo!
Just looked at Almunia closely there. Quite comfortably watched the ball go by. Just moved his feet quickly.
Goal kick is rendered null and void because the referee was overseeing this imminent Arsenal change. Gilberto was given the first part of the evening off. And who scored Arsenal's first competitive goal on this ground on Saturday, a late equaliser to Olof Malberg's Aston Villa goal. He'll be with us shortly after Buljat has come on for Agic. The Dinamo Zagreb 11, Buljat, taker of all of their set pieces in the first game. Gilberto now replaces Clem.
Has been replaced by 19, Gilberto.
Another late equaliser required.
Kleb's had a disappointing game, partly due, I feel, to the fact that he went in field and was over-dribbled at times and overpassed. Fabregas has gone to the right-hand side of the midfield. Fabregas, Gilberto, Flamini and Ljungberg is now the middle four.
Eto. Modric. From Toure.
I think that Buljat for Agic will help them attack more. Agic was very much a marker in that half, rarely went forward.
Oh yeah, it's a smart player and a very good user of the dead ball. By Carlos Boué. Arsene Wenger has had to send on the two most senior professionals on his bench. These boys still have reason to believe that all things are possible. 20 minutes to score 2 goals and force extra time. It's not as fanciful as it felt at 8 o'clock this evening. Modric crashing off Flamini in the centre circle. Durpic. Buljat. Hold of Gilberto.
Nice introduction for Buljat. Yellow card straight away.
Might have been some refereeing intervention there as well as Thierry Henry caught for an arm across the face, but Buljat's in the book. Ljungberg. Henry. Ljungberg. Oh, nice from Hoy. And from Flamini. Space for Ljungberg to turn. Ljungberg's cross. Repelled by Mamic.
Arsenal up in the pace. Would be a dent to their pride to lose here this evening, there's no question about that, even though they will get through the tie.
Van Persie. Quick for Gilberto. Out by Buljat. Kovacic rolling, he's got a free kick, he's not going to get anything more. Fabregas is unimpressed by the histrionics that followed the foul. Incidentally, some not terribly optimistic news from a British point of view coming in from Athens, where AEK lead Hearts by 3-0 on the night, 5-1 on aggregate now, so there'll only be, I think, one Scottish representative in the Champions League, and that'll be Celtic.
And probably a new manager for Hearts. They are the team that keep changing managers in Scotland, aren't they?
Yes, fairly frequently. Flamini. After tonight, of course, Arsenal's concern, provided nothing too much more goes wrong, will be the group stage draw tomorrow. There's confirmation that Bulya received a yellow card a short while ago. Then the players have to survive Saturday's trip to Manchester City. A couple of international fixtures, then a home game against Middlesbrough before the first fixture in the Champions League proper. Held up by Sorluka, and then again free kick is advanced by 10 or 15 yards for an identical offence.
Clever play by Henry there, just leaning on the Croatian defender to nick that ball back and winning Arsenal a free kick.
Well, we're having a few problems. We're working to fix these and rejoin your program as soon as possible. I'm pleased to say that we can now rejoin the program.
understand that you've been having a problem with hearing our sound from the Emirates Stadium, and prior to that you lost coverage altogether. Our apologies for that. There was a power supply failure inside the ground here, which has taken a while to repair. Whilst you're away, Freddie Ljungberg equalised on the night for Arsenal, and we're going to bring you pictures of that goal as soon as we can. It has been recorded. You will see the goal. It came from a Robin van Persie cross. And also Theo Walcott has come on as a substitute for the last 10 or 11 minutes. So Arsenal are back in the comfort zone here, and safely on their way through to the Champions League group stage tour, which takes place in Monaco tomorrow. Theo Walcott as well is coming on as a substitute to become, incidentally, the youngest player ever to represent Arsenal in European competition. He's some 9 days younger than Cesc Fabregas was when he took his Champions League bow. Theo Walcott, within a minute or so of coming on, was booked, having broken through the Zagreb defence, been flagged offside, and then lashed the ball across the face of goal instinctively, and was shown a yellow card for that. So you're up to speed. We will be showing you the goal as soon as we possibly can. Modric, Eduardo. Gilberto. Toure, Henry. So a headed goal at the near post from Ljungberg. Van Persie having delivered the cross. Persie has now gone off. Gilberto. Fabregas. Taken out by Mamic. Carlos. Good driving run. Vukovic.
Didn't really believe in his effort as it ran across his body. Vukovic never really got behind it or over the ball. They have shown a little bit more attacking intent, particularly after the equaliser. Speaking, Almunia's had a really restful night.
There is Eto'o, Vukovic. Eto'o, Modric. Eto'o came from an onside position. Modric. And Mamic optimistically over.
He's done okay tonight. Captain has tried to lead them as best he can.
Here's the goal we all missed. Scored by Freddie Ljungberg from a Robin van Persie in swinging free kick. Good connection, and the goalkeeper static on the line. 1 each on the night, 4-1 Arsenal on aggregate. Scored his European goal last season in Amsterdam against Ajax. And he's off his European mark for this campaign now. A late change for Zagreb, facing Vukovic, Goran Ljubojevic. Scored a couple of goals domestically at the weekend. Has 6 European and domestic goals already this season, including a hat-trick in the previous round of Champions League qualifying. And reason at least for Josip Kujet to feel some satisfaction about his team's night's work. Modric slipped through towards Ljubojevic, away by Djuru.
Difficult for young Walcott to get in the game. All eyes on him, of course. He got a massive applause when he came onto the field. He's had 2 or 3 touches, not successful ones. And of course, with his speed, there's always the opportunity to put the ball through the last line of defence for him to run onto, and just watch this attack develop.
Carlos lashing it across. Ljungberg.
Henry giving a masterclass there in shielding the ball from the big number 5, Sluka.
3 minutes to be added on at the end of 90 minutes. Arsenal's smoothest 90 minutes by any manner of means, but the job having been done to a large extent in Zagreb, it's proved sufficient. Henry. And again from Soluka's clearance. Walcott. Win in a new home.
Well, they needed to win, and the supporters will go home happy. Henry's patient on the right-hand side, his patience paid off, and Walcott's hitting that ball fiercely across the goal. Flamini just keeps himself onside as he approaches that ball and touches it past the poor keeper. Good play by Henry, never panicking, giving young Walcott the opportunity to play it across.
And in the longer-term future, perhaps this is a goal of greater significance than at first it feels. Because Arsenal and Arsene can start to feel at home now. If they could wrap up a win. Matteo Flamini's second goal in Arsenal colours, made for him by Theo Walcott, and his second first-team appearance in Arsenal colours. Frenchman to win the game. Prior to this, the goals on this ground had been scored by 2 Brazilians. Gilberto on Saturday, Eduardo tonight, and 2 Swedes, Mellberg and Ljungberg. Now a Frenchman for a French manager. As Arsenal in a healthy position indeed. And here is Ljungberg with Walcott one way and Henry the other. Tomic, the very late substitute. Mamic. Ljubojevic. Modric. Tomic. So their 50 European wins at Highbury and their 2 at Wembley. Arsenal can add this, their first at the Emirates Stadium. And at last, a semi-satisfied smile from Arsene Wenger to show for it as he carries Arsenal into the Champions League for the 9th year in a row. In the end, by a comfortable aggregate margin. Freddie Ljungberg with an equaliser before Flamini's winner. And last year's finalists are through this year's heats. And England has its full complement in the Champions League draw tomorrow. It finishes 2-1 Arsenal on the night and 5-1 on aggregate.
Roger, 265.
Access granted.
Introducing the miracle of fusion. A revolutionary technology and a unique idea come together to create new Gillette Fusion. Until now, pressure could cause irritation. Fusion has 5 blades spaced closer together to reduce pressure with less irritation and more comfort. Flip Fusion over, a precision trimmer for those tricky places. The comfort of 5 blades, the precision of 1. Gillette's best shave ever. In manual or battery power. New Gillette Fusion.
Treat.
Does your treatment of athlete's foot feel never-ending? Try new revolutionary Lamasil Once. With just one application, the Lamasil Once lasting film keeps working in the skin. So once and you're done. So you can feel in touch again. Lamasil Once. Something this revolutionary happens only once.
Art. 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 Fiesta.
Smile, you're in Spain.
I told you, I've already had one. I'm driving, aren't I? And
You'll be
why is
fine.
someone
This is
doing
only a
this?
second. She's definitely looking
Yeah,
at
she
you.
still is.
Staring.
Not staring.
Hold on. Go on, give it a look. Go on.
If you're drinking, don't drive.
You know what, Shane? Whenever I wear my kendo armour, I always think of Powergen's price protection product. Fixes your energy prices. Self-defence against any unexpected moves in the energy market. I'll leave it, Steve. It's over. Protection against price rises until 2010. Positive energy from Powergen.
I've been poisoned with some kind of Chinese synthetic.
It's cutting off your adrenaline.
If you stop,
You die.
where's the run?
You're supposed to be dead!
Jason Statham.
Your whole crew is history.
Craig.
Welcome to planet Earth. Please make yourself at home. Please make yourself at home.
Come to your senses with Airways sugar-free gum.
Live and exclusive, Barcelona take on Sevilla in the UEFA Super Cup. Friday at 7:30, ITV4.
Arsenal have gone through 5-1 here on aggregate. I have to tell you how sorry we are about that total loss of power. Affected our whole outside broadcast operation here. Trust me, the stuff of television nightmares you wouldn't have felt as bad as we have about it all. There we are. Let me bring you right up to date with all the scores this evening, first of all. And Hearts, as we expected, have gone out by the same margin that Arsenal have gone through. 5-1 on aggregate against AEK Athens. Hearts beaten 3-0 in Athens tonight. Now then, in the Premiership, the Villa are beaten Reading.